Greetings, crew members. We're back this time with another review of the first 4 episodes of Star Trek Lower Decks. That's right. That's right. I get to talk about Star Trek.
We get to talk about Star Trek. Yay!
Star Trek is one of my favorite things of all time. I'm not sure if anybody noticed with any of my previous videos or constantly bringing up Star Trek. Just in my personal life, if you've met me, I probably brought up Star Trek around you. But specifically, we're here to talk about the first 4 episodes of the new season of Star Trek Lower Decks.
It's so good.
This is the Star Trek comedy animated series, which a lot of people were skeptical about when it was first announced.
And a lot of people are still salty about today.
Yes, but those people were wrong, because this is the best new Star Trek show probably since Deep Space Nine. I said something controversial there. I'm going to live with it.
I think I can live with it.
So we should dive into it. Now, if you're not familiar with Star Trek Lower Decks, it is the animated adventures of the Lower Decks crew of the USS Cerritos.
Cerritos, yes.
Yeah, the USS Cerritos. They are the kind of workaday people of Starfleet, you know, the ones cleaning out the gunk and, you know, doing the sort of menial tasks. But specifically, this is about Ensign Boimler, Mariner, Rutherford, and Tendi, and sort of how they navigate the crazier aspects of working in Starfleet. And the Cerritos itself is a second contact ship, it's described as. It's sort of the cleanup ship, the dirty job ship, you know, not the big fancy Enterprise.
So it's like, it's not even just that it's the lower decks, it's that it's the lower decks of the lower ships.
Yeah. If you want to talk references, you want to talk Star Trek Lower Decks, because this show is so dense with references and visual cues and details from the series as a whole.
Yes, Chris is a longtime fan of Star Trek. He loves Star Trek so much, and I had never seen any Star Trek, but had like always wanted to watch it because I like sci-fi. And now guess who's watching all of Star Trek?
To the journey.
You're here.
To the journey.
And there are certain things in Lower Decks that are referenced to things you haven't seen yet. So it'll be interesting to get your take on how some of that stuff plays just on its own.
Spoilers. There are some spoilers, but it's one of those things where that's my fault for not having watched Star Trek yet. It's very old, and catch up, Tamara, but we're working on it. So I kind of don't get mad at Lower Decks for it. I want to point out that you've watched it a lot and love it. I've watched it a little bit and love it. Our friend Peter has seen no Star Trek. He does not watch Star Trek. I think he saw a couple of the new movies, but he hasn't watched it in any meaningful way, and he still gets a lot of enjoyment out of it. We're going to talk about those 4 episodes a little bit more in depth.
Yes, they are available. Every episode is available currently on CBS All Access. I'm sorry, it used to be Paramount Plus. Now it's CBS All Access. And they premiere every Thursday. So the latest episode was actually just last night. This has been the best new Star Trek series out of the bunch so far. I'd rate the newer seasons of Discovery behind this a little bit. Yeah, this is really clearly a labor of love from a Star Trek fan.
He clearly loves the showrunner,
Mike McMahon.
I
suppose that's McCannon. Yeah, how you pronounce it.
I don't know how
There's
you
an
pronounce
H in
his
there.
name, but he was formerly worked on Rick and Morty, left Rick and Morty to start this, and also is working with Justin Roiland on
Solar Opposites,
which we've seen a little bit of. So yeah, that's our cue to throw up the spoiler warning.
Yeah, we're going to discuss the first 4 episodes.
Spoilers.
Skip to this time code to kind of hear our overall thoughts and opinions on the episodes, but we're going to get into it. So there are 4 episodes out currently. The first one is Strange Energies, which is the season 2 premiere. You also have Kayshawn His Eyes Open, which is a wonderful reference. Every title's almost a reference to something from Star Trek, including the 3rd episode title, We'll Always Have Tom Paris, which in and of itself is a reference to Voyager character Tom Paris, plus the TNG episode, We'll Always Have Paris.
I haven't seen that one yet, have I?
He was in season 2. It was Picard bumming around the holodeck because his ex-girlfriend was coming.
Oh, that one.
Yeah. And then the latest episode, Magato Gamato. But let's talk overall about what's kind of happened so far in the season.
At the end of the last season, they had kind of an arc, and then they had this really cool last episode that I loved. The Packlins. I love the Packlins. Sorry. I could go on a whole tangent about how much I love the Packlins, but I'm not going to. At the end of it, the Cerritos was a little dinged up. Brad Boimler had taken a promotion to the Titan, and Mariner was mad at him because
Shax had fucking died.
Yeah, Shax had died. Rutherford had a big chunk of his head and brain ripped out at the end of the season because he got his implant ripped out
and suffered from some amnesia.
So he had some amnesia problems, and Tendi was going to take care of him. Beckett and her mom had decided to work together to try and do some of the things that Starfleet doesn't. None of the maintenance and stuff. Some of that stuff mattered, right? Like, some of that stuff mattered when we come back into season 2. Rutherford having a big chunk of his memory erased, that matters. And that is still having some effects, even in in episode 4.
It does feel
he's, that mattered. It mattered that Shax died. It has mattered because it's like Rutherford was having like a real crisis after he came back. And some stuff didn't matter. Like Boimler's promotion was immediately reversified, and
sort of the first 2 episodes sort of end up kind of wrapping up those plot points.
But that's what I mean, immediately reversified. Boimler got promoted. He went to the Titan. He was like a full officer. Like he had the pips and everything to prove it, right? Mm-hmm. And then he gets cloned in an accident, and he gets demoted.
Well, yeah, they specifically have a rule that no 2 identical persons can serve on a starship together, which seems very specific, weird, and completely believable for Starfleet.
Yes, but also because they're like, due to the complex nature, I think it was also partially because it was the Titan, and that's a big ship that does a lot of stuff, as we saw. The Titan's like, ah!
Well, like I mentioned that it's the sort of analogy is that Boimler has now found himself stuck in the Star Trek movies where everything is all action, excitement, or even sort of stuck in New Trek.
Was the Titan as awesome as everybody says?
It was a bunch of complex characters thrown into heavily serialized battles, which always ended in mind-blowing twists and made me question the basic tenets of my reality.
But who cares about that? Tell me more about this puppet Ray. That's the kind of stuff I live for.
So, it didn't really matter, because he gets basically immediately demoted back to the Cerritos, becomes an ensign again, which, I don't think after saving 3 of your crew members from Packard murder,
you would be demoted.
That you would be demoted. I feel like you'd be promoted to a different ship.
Yes,
but
there's more ships than the Cerritos, but that felt a little.
Yeah, that felt a little
hackneyed and sort of
and so
back.
It didn't matter, right? Mm-hmm. It kind of didn't matter.
It did give us some wonderful Riker moments over those course of those 2 episodes.
But it didn't matter, right? At the end of the day. And then I would also say that Beckett and her mom working together kind of didn't matter. We didn't get to see them doing a lot of work together.
The first episode.
Yeah, we saw one mission where it was clearly Mariner was trying to get her to stop, giving her these missions. She was like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. And her mom didn't want to say no because she was too, having fun being cool mom. And so by the end of it, they're like, maybe we'll just do occasional missions
Which
together.
makes me think we'll get 1 or 2 episodes this season where they are doing something together. It seems like her drive now is, it's what it was before, which is prestige and sort of notoriety. And now there's talk of her husband's talking about how there's a promotion to a capital ship coming up, sort of an Enterprise D type ship, and she's in line for it, but she better keep her nose clean.
Yeah, which I said to Chris, I was like, Chris, I think I know what the theme of this whole season's gonna be. It essentially boils down to she's trying to keep her nose clean, and in doing that, she's going back to being a bad captain. She was briefly good at the very end of the season. In the last episode, she showed a bunch of competence, and I was like, oh,
of season 1.
Maybe we're doing a swerve into her being a good captain.
Yeah.
Now we're in this season, and now she's like, oh, I gotta keep my nose clean so that I can get this capital ship promotion, and I gotta get all the good things, all the good missions, so that I can get this capital ship promotion. And
so far
it's making her a bad captain again, I think.
Yeah, so far this season, all we've really seen her doing is covering for things that have happened to the ship. She's been scammed in the 4th episode. She's scammed by a very obvious scammer, and ends up with all of her personal items being taken by this guy. She's trying to hide
and then
the
she
fact
makes a
that
deal
they're
with
being
him.
attacked by a giant godlike head.
Yes.
That's her first officer.
Yes, she gets her performance review and they're like, you have a tendency to micromanage. So she's like, okay, well then I'm just not going to call anybody then. I'm going to do the opposite of micromanaging. I'm going to not.
hands-off.
And then it's like, well, that guy got turned into a puppet because you didn't check in and you didn't know that until literally they were on their way back. There's a lot of great casual aliens in this show. It's nice that one of the main characters is like an alien we haven't seen before as a main.
Yes.
Orions. And we're learning so much about Orions now.
Orion femdom culture is on full display in the 3rd episode of the series. We'll always have Tom Paris, where Tendi and Mariner, who comment directly that they've never been teamed up before, go on a...
I think one of them even says that this seems like an oversight.
Yeah, and they go on a mission to retrieve Dr. Ta'ana's sex post because she's currently in heat.
And then she doesn't even want that. She just wants the box.
I did get an answer specifically to something that was brought up before, which is Orion female pheromones, which was brought up in an unfortunate episode of Star Trek Enterprise. Tendi has a nice line about how she's not even that kind of Orion. So like there's some other specific subspecies that has that ability.
I think there's been a lot of really good stuff. But like I said, some stuff that happened in season 2 mattered and some stuff that happened in season 2 didn't matter.
Shax comes back from the dead and they spend an episode with Rutherford chasing him around trying to politely ask away on how the hell he came back from the dead, which it is a Star Trek thing that characters come back from the dead, because there's been a lot of characters, even in the new Trek, there's been a lot of characters that come back from the dead. He did come back awfully quick. They didn't even last a season. It's kind of used as like a throwaway joke. He talks, when he finally tells Rutherford, they don't tell you, they just sort of zoom out and Rutherford's like horribly shocked. Something about the Black Mountain.
Yes.
Which sounds very Bajoran. That the collector thing and the opening of episode 1 where Mariner is in the holodeck feature so many possible moments of just looking at different little things in the background, different ships, different like subtle details on
so many just references upon references. Uhura's outfit's in there.
The giant bones of giant Spock.
Yes, giant Spock's bones.
You've got
they climb over.
Yeah, at one point the guy that they're categorizing for, because this is a some kind of Kivas Fajo type guy died and it's his collection, and the I guess estate manager or whatever he's supposed to be is called in Starfleet because he's like, I don't know what's super dangerous in here.
So
and
come here.
And as they pan across, I'm just like, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. Oh, that tried to kill Kirk. Like...
But that is also the same episode where they brought Jet back from season 1. He was Brad's super hot girlfriend's ex.
Yes.
And they brought him back and they were like, he was like in a real competition with Mariner, and the two of them kept talking about how they were what Starfleet was, and you know, you're not really what Starfleet is, you don't follow like the rules. Well, you're not really what Starfleet is because you're so beholden to the rules, and like they were talking a lot about that. And then he just literally gets booted out of the booth at the end of the episode, and he just goes off and he hasn't come back yet. And it kind of feels like the way that a show keeps from getting static and boring is by changing stuff. And that's kind of part of the problem that we had with Rick and Morty, where they stopped changing stuff, right?
Yeah, any sort of like redefining they did of the characters wouldn't stick around.
No, and so I'm a little worried that that's going to happen here, where like I kind of was into the weird dichotomy between Jet and Mariner, because I was kind of like, oh, this will be great. You'll have somebody who's like a stick to the rules Kirk type, because Kirk is a stick to the rules type. Sorry, the internet, but he let himself get court-martialed for a thing that he like didn't do, and he was like, no, the justice system will prove out even though it was rigged. Sorry, that's a Kirk tangent, but you had this like, I'm not breaking the rules, I'm following protocol Kirk type, and this Picard style, I'm gonna break all the rules, fuck the Prime Directive, I don't give a shit type. And the two of them working together I thought was really interesting, especially when they came to like an agreement, and how they uplifted their other crew members by being like, well, what would you guys do? Like, this
and
is not
Rutherford and
working.
Temby could have solved it in a second.
Yeah, and so like they took them a while to get there, but once they got there, they worked together really well. And so I was interested in that. And then I was also interested in like Brad coming back to that, where it's like, oh, they have like a rapport, these two.
Yeah. Let's talk about Mariner.
Yes, I like that she's using the holodeck as therapy still.
Yeah.
I think
Seems like
that's great.
She seems like she's trying to improve as a person,
Mm-hmm.
but in the first episode, you can see she's sort of pushing her mom way too much. And
Yes.
it's almost like she's kind of like wanting her mom to say no.
Well, she does want her mom to say no. She says that. She basically says she wants to stop working with her mom, and she keeps pushing all of these things on her because she wants to stop doing them. But also, her mom's really happy and that it's cute. So like the relationship is starting to repair. I think now we should move to just our wrap up and our general thoughts. So for me, I like it a lot. I liked the first season a bunch. As a relatively new Star Trek fan, I have a lot of fun watching it. And even though it spoils some stuff for me, I don't get mad because, like, it is my fault. I should have watched it. I'm a little worried that they're going to, like, stagnate. But the stuff that they have kept that matters, I've really liked. And we have a character who straight up, like, just confirmed they were pansexual. Just out loud.
Screw you, Loki.
Mariner straight up says, you know, I dated bad boys, bad girls, bad non-binary people, bad
She goes
alien creatures.
She goes from non-binary people to bad binars, which were the little dual robot people from 1010.
Aww.
So she's definitely dated like a couple of those.
So like, yeah, it's that's great. And I love that. And that makes me really happy. I'm like optimistic. I think that it's going to be really good. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. This is only the first 4 episodes. So like, maybe they're just going to really ramp up.
It seems like they're really building up some kind of like background war with the Packlids that's going on, because you see every time we cut to the Titan, they're fighting the Packlids, and also now they've added the Packlids to that opening Borg fight that the Cerritos just runs away from.
Yes, which is cool. The opening has changed a little bit, which I love.
The
I love it when
Cerritos
they
looks a little
change
bit
the
new.
opening a little. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. What do you think?
I think that it's awesome. Like I said, I think it's the best new Star Trek show since Deep Space Nine, certainly in quality. It's definitely the funniest Star Trek show ever made. It's also, I think, incredibly respectful and dense, and the references and little things that they sort of throw into the background and make little plot points. Yeah, no, I love the series. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to more episodes. It's definitely the best Star Trek TV show on right now.
Yeah, I fully recommend it as well. I would also watch it. I'd watch season 1 first.
Of course.
And then I'd watch season 2 because it's really good so far.
And then I would watch the rest of Star Trek, because I would recommend fully that maybe you can skip the animated series from the 70s and some later Enterprise episodes.
We're not going to rate it specifically because it's not done or out yet, and we don't want to do a rating of a show that isn't finished. I don't know if we'll do them like 4x4. We'll probably just wait until the end of the season and then do a full review of the season. But we are excited and looking forward to more of it. And thank you so much for watching.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can check out other videos we have on the channel too.
We've got lots of Hitman content right now. Hitman coming out of the wazoo.
All right, everybody, stay safe and be who you are.
Bye.
Bye.